Well, when you look back, it's probably coincidental because not many people know when I was a Minister for Manpower in 2008, there was a global financial crisis. And I had to set up a work group at the time, we call it. At that time, we set up this work group to deal with the crisis at hand. So that was the first encounter. Then we had this COVID-19. COVID-19, I was the health minister. So naturally, it's for me to think about how to manage a crisis. And right from the beginning, I knew the crisis is going to be more than just Ministry of Health. And therefore, I decided that I would need a multi-ministry task force. And I asked Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean at the time, who was looking after national security. And then I asked the Prime Minister to agree that I will set up a multi-ministerial task force. Then I told him that actually it is also more than me. I will need a helper, I will need a co-chairman to help me so that we can work together. And he gave me Minister Lawrence Wang. Two of us became a co-chairman of the multi-ministry task force. And now, of course, we have an economic crisis. And it's also just so happened that I'm Minister for Trade and Industry, and economy is really under my portfolio. So I told the Prime Minister, I think it's time for us to set up a Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force to deal with this issue, because it's going to be a very long-term issue. It's not going to be a storm in the teacup. So I think we will need to deal with it seriously. And Prime Minister agreed, and here I am, a chairman of Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force. This crisis is a very severe crisis. This is no ordinary storm. I think it's going to change the world. By the time the storm settles, it will be a new world that we'll be facing. Let me explain why. After the Liberation Day announced by the US, they have introduced tariffs after tariffs, baseline of 10% tariffs on almost all countries, and higher reciprocal tariffs on specific countries, and most of these have been deferred except China, and China today is facing 145% tariff for exports into US. Basically, China will find it not possible to export at all. And then what will happen? Those companies and products that are supplying to China in order to export to US will also stop once Chinese export to US stops. And what will happen? And the whole world economy will be disrupted. And is this likely to be over? I don't think so. Because the US has explained that one of the purpose of the reciprocal tariff is to provide protection for their domestic industries and to encourage investors to reshore or onshore investments into US, because they are saying that, look, I have tariffs to protect you, so don't worry, come and invest in US, although it's more expensive, but the tariffs will make imports expensive so you can compete with them. Well and good. So companies may invest in the US, but after that, the US cannot reduce the tariffs because these companies who have just invested in US depends on these tariffs to protect them. If you remove the tariffs or lower the tariffs, then these investments will suffer. So they cannot remove the tariff, at least not in the short term. And therefore, this is going to change the whole world. Singapore is an open economy. Our economy depends on the world economy to thrive and grow. If the world economy becomes a tariff war, an economy will slow down. Employment will slow down. And in the end, Singapore economy will also slow down because we depend on the world economy. Our enterprises, particularly the small and medium enterprises, will suffer. What will happen to the jobs? We will begin to lose jobs. In fact, today, many Singaporeans already feedback to me that they are seeing slower hiring practices by companies. When people retire, when workers resign, they don't replace anymore. At least not for the meantime, because they are not certain about the future. What that means is that job opportunities will diminish. So therefore, if we don't manage it well, we are going to see a significant slowdown in the economy and significant softening on our job market. But it doesn't mean that we can't do anything to help ourselves. Many people have decided to wait and see. We have adopted an approach that we will see, but we cannot wait. And that's why we set up the task force on the Singapore Economic Resilience to look at how we can introduce short-term measures to continue to keep our enterprises vibrant, to continue to help them to grow, continue to help workers to upgrade and upskill. At the same time, think about the long-term impact because, as I said, this crisis is very long-term. So we do want to look at long-term measures to help our economy restructure, transform, help our companies transform. In the past, they may be selling their products to country A. They may no longer be able to do so because country A has a stiff tariffs. So they may need to develop new countries, country B, country C. They may be buying their raw materials from one particular country, and this country may become very expensive because they are facing tariffs from other countries. So you may need to also look for alternative sources of supplies for your raw materials and components. So what this means is that we need to look at how we can strengthen the resilience of our company, our supply chain. They have to diversify their sources, diversify their markets. They have to transform themselves, go into new products, new services. And this cannot happen overnight, but we need to start now, helping companies understand the challenges and helping them to embark on this journey of transformation. And that is why we introduced Skills Future Level Up program. And this Level Up program is a mid-career program to help middle-aged Singapore workers, 40 and 45 and so on, to embark on a major reset of their skill sets so that they are able to address the needs of skills in the future economy.